When was the last time you felt truly alive at night? Not just awake, not just lying in bed staring at the ceiling, but alive in the way you once were when your body felt light, your energy steady, and your confidence unshaken. For many men past 60, that memory feels more like a faded photograph than a lived reality. The evening hours, once full of vitality, now seem heavier, slower, almost like a reminder that something essential has slipped away. And yet, what if I told you that restoring some of that energy, that spark, doesn't begin in a doctor's office or with a prescription bottle? What if it could begin with something as simple as what you put in your hand before you close your eyes at night? My name is Dr. Nancy Lynn Snyderman, and I've spent decades working with men who thought their best days were behind them. I've listened as they leaned in with lowered voices, confessing the same worry you might have felt yourself. I'm fine during the day, Doc, but when night comes, I feel old. The honesty in their words is something I'll never forget. These were strong men, fathers, husbands, leaders, yet they spoke of evenings that felt like a slow unraveling. Muscles that once carried them with ease ached more. Thoughts that once flowed quickly grew sluggish, and the fire that gave them quiet confidence in the bedroom seemed to flicker. It's not just in your head. When the sun goes down, your body reveals its cracks more plainly. The systems that used to work effortlessly, testosterone surging at the right time, nitric oxide, relaxing blood vessels, your brain releasing melatonin to guide you into deep healing sleep, now stumble. Cortisol. The stress hormone lingers longer than it should. The result is that you feel heavier, older, and somehow less yourself as night wears on. For younger men, nighttime is when the body begins its natural repair cycle, a rhythm of renewal. But past 60, that rhythm can falter. And with it goes not just strength, but identity. Because when a man loses his vitality at night, he doesn't just lose sleep. He loses the quiet confidence that steadies his hand and softens his heart. He hesitates with his partner, second guesses himself, feels restless where he once felt grounded. I remember one patient telling me he dreaded bedtime because it had become the moment of his greatest defeat. That broke my heart, because I know it doesn't have to be that way. Feeling older at night is not a permanent sentence, it's a signal. Your body is whispering for support. And here's the hopeful truth: the support it needs may be far simpler than you ever imagined. That's why I'm speaking to you now. Not with false promises, not with miracle pills or late-night TV gimmicks, but with something real, something rooted in both science and the lives of the men I've treated. There is a way to fuel your body so that nighttime is not a source of dread, but of renewal again. A way that doesn't cost hundreds of dollars or require endless bottles on your bathroom counter. In fact, it's something so ordinary that you've walked past it at the grocery store without ever realizing the power it holds. And when used the right way at the right time, it can become the small nightly ritual that changes how you sleep, how you feel, and how you show up in the moments that matter most. You may be skeptical, and that's fair. Many of my patients were too. But stay with me, because just ahead, I'm going to reveal exactly what this humble food is, why it works in harmony with your body's natural rhythms, and how you can begin using it tonight. And once you understand it, you'll see that what you thought was lost may only have been waiting for the right key to unlock it. So let me ask you again. When was the last time you felt truly alive at night? Because what comes next might just be the first step to making that feeling real once more. You might wonder why nightfall feels so different now than it once did. Why the evenings that used to carry a sense of ease, intimacy, even anticipation, have slowly turned into hours of heaviness. I've sat across from men in their 60s, 70s, even 80s, and again, I've heard the same quiet confession. Doctor, I'm fine during the day, but when the night comes, I feel old. Those words carry both sadness and resignation, and if you've ever felt the weight of them yourself, you know exactly what they mean. The morning often begins with energy, sometimes even optimism. You can move through your day, accomplish tasks, talk with your family, and feel at least on the surface like yourself. But when the sun slips down and the house grows quiet, something shifts. The body that seemed steady just hours ago starts to feel like it's betraying you. Muscles ache, as though carrying twice their weight. Thoughts slow, as if wading through fog. The spark that once lit up your evenings dims into a reluctant flicker. It's not simply exhaustion or imagination. The truth is that the body runs on rhythms, beautifully timed cycles that once worked in your favor. When you were younger, nightfall was the body's signal to begin repair. Testosterone production quietly climbed, preparing you for both physical renewal and intimacy. Blood vessels opened more easily, carrying nourishment where it was most needed. Your brain released melatonin, guiding you into deep, restorative sleep. You could stay up late with your partner, enjoy closeness, rest through the night, and still rise with the sun feeling whole. Nighttime wasn't an enemy then. It was an ally, the very stage where strength was rebuilt. But time has a way of rearranging those rhythms. After 60, the machinery that once hummed along starts to sputter. Testosterone. The hormone that fuels energy, confidence, and vitality slows its nightly rise. The production of nitric oxide, the tiny molecule that allows your blood vessels to relax and circulation to surge, falls by half or more. The very current that once gave you firmness, stamina, and a sense of youth weakens. Meanwhile, cortisol, the stress hormone that should fade when the day is done, stubbornly clings on. It's as if your body no longer gets the memo that night is meant for recovery. Instead of peace, you feel tension. Instead of renewal, decline. I remember a patient who described it to me in words I've never forgotten. He said, "At night, it feels like my body leaks strength, drop by drop, and I can't plug the holes." That image was haunting because it captured exactly what so many men go through. They lie in bed, not simply tired, but defeated. Their partners notice the hesitation, the absence of spark and intimacy turns into silence. The hours that should bring rest instead magnify the loss. And over time, the man himself begins to believe this is just the natural price of aging and irreversible surrender. But let me tell you something important. Feeling older at night is not your destiny. It's your body signaling for help. That heavy fatigue, those restless hours, that uneasy doubt about yourself are not punishments of age. They are signs of systems running low systems that once operated invisibly on your behalf. Your body is not announcing that your story is finished. It is asking quietly but insistently for the support you can still give it. When I explain this to men, I see a shift in their faces. For the first time, they understand that they are not broken. They are simply out of rhythm, and rhythms can be supported. The cracks that night reveals are not the end of the road, but the start of a new chapter if you know how to listen and how to respond. Because the secret to feeling alive again after dark is not to fight against the night, but to restore the balance your body has lost. That balance can't be bought in the aisles of supplements that promise miracles, or in the bottles prescribed for quick fixes that leave you dependent. It lies in working with the natural flow of your body, in feeding it what time has taken away. This is the part that so many men miss. The night has always been the body's most powerful window for renewal. That hasn't changed. What's changed is how well your system can use that window. Think of it like an engine that once started with the turn of a key, but now needs cleaner fuel. The good news is, the right fuel is closer than you think. Simple, natural, and designed to work with the cycles that already exist within you. So when you find yourself asking, "Why does the night make me feel old?" remember that it's not a flaw in who you are, but a call to action. The evening hours have turned against you, not because they are cursed, but because they reveal where support is missing. And when you give your body that support at the right time, in the right way, night can become what it once was, a friend, a healer, a stage for vitality instead of decline. That is why I ask you to stay with me. Because now that you see the problem clearly, you deserve to know the missing piece. You deserve to hear about the simple, humble food that has the power to slip into this broken rhythm and restore what time has dulled. You've walked past it 100 times without realizing its potential, but when I show you what it can do, you may wonder why no one told you sooner. And that is exactly what I'm about to reveal. You've probably guessed by now that the missing piece I've been leading you toward is not a pill, not an injection, not a flashy supplement you've seen advertised at midnight. It's something humbler, something you've walked past in the grocery store without a second thought. The truth is, one of the simplest and most overlooked foods holds exactly the nutrients your body craves at night. And when used correctly, it has the power to restore energy circulation and rest in ways that surprise even the most skeptical men. That food is the walnut, what I like to call the nighttime nut. It sounds almost too simple, doesn't it? But let me take you deeper, because when you understand why this nut works the way it does, you'll see it's not ordinary at all. Walnuts are small, rough, and easy to dismiss, yet inside they carry a unique trio of compounds that target the very systems age has worn down. The first is L-arginine, a building block your body uses to produce nitric oxide. You've already heard me mention nitric oxide. It's the gas that tells blood vessels to relax and open the very mechanism that allows for stronger circulation and firmer erections. When you were younger, your body produced it in abundance, so you never thought twice about whether blood was flowing where it needed to. But after 60, those levels drop dramatically. Walnuts, though, are nature's quiet way of refilling that reservoir, giving your body the raw material it can transform into better blood flow. But that's just the beginning. Walnuts are also rich in omega-3 fatty acids. You might think of these as nutrients for the heart or the brain, but they play an equally important role in keeping blood vessels supple and flexible. Think of your circulatory system like a network of roads. Over time, those roads can stiffen, crack, or narrow, making every journey slower and rougher. Omega-3s are like the maintenance crews keeping those pathways open and smooth. The result: not only does your heart benefit, but the very circulation that supports intimacy and vitality is strengthened too. And then, as if that weren't enough walnuts, bring one more gift to the table. Melatonin, the hormone your brain naturally releases to guide you into deep, restorative sleep. Most people think of melatonin only in the form of capsules sold at the pharmacy, but walnuts carry it in a natural, gentle form that works in harmony with your body's own signals. Instead of jolting you, they nudge you back into rhythm, helping you fall asleep more easily and stay asleep long enough for your body to repair itself. I'll never forget a man I saw in his late 60s. He had tried everything over-the-counter supplements, late-night infomercial products, even expensive prescriptions that left him with side effects he couldn't tolerate. By the time he walked into my office, his shoulders were slumped with resignation. When I told him that something as simple as a handful of walnuts before bed might make a difference, he laughed. "Doctor," he said, "if nuts could fix me, I'd be fixed already." But I asked him to give it a fair chance, just a few weeks. He returned later with eyes that looked almost younger, brighter, filled with something I hadn't seen before: relief. He told me he was sleeping through the night for the first time in years, waking with energy instead of dread. and perhaps most importantly to him, his confidence with his wife had returned. That quiet smile as he told me this said more than any lab test ever could. What makes walnuts so powerful is not that they are exotic or rare, but that they combine precisely what men over 60 are missing. Circulation, hormonal balance, and deep sleep into one natural package. Nature designed them to work together, each nutrient amplifying the other, like instruments in an orchestra. And while other nuts carry their own benefits, almonds, cashews, pecans, none carry this same trifecta, tuned specifically to the nightly struggles of aging men. That's why I call walnuts the nighttime nut. They are uniquely suited to meet your body at its most vulnerable hour and quietly supply what time has eroded. Of course, skepticism is natural. We've been conditioned to believe solutions must be complicated, expensive, or hidden behind prescriptions. But some of the most profound answers are sitting in plain sight. Walnuts aren't a magic trick. They're a tool, a way to restore harmony in systems that have fallen out of sync. And when you begin to use them intentionally in the right amount and at the right time, you give your body a chance to shift from decline back toward renewal. So the question becomes not whether walnuts can help, but how your body has reached a point where it needs their support. Why does a man after 60 lose these critical nutrients so quickly? What happens inside that turns once automatic cycles of renewal into nightly battles with fatigue, restlessness, and fading strength? Understanding that is just as important as discovering the nut itself, because it explains why so many men find their nights harder with each passing year. And if you can see clearly what is being lost, you'll also understand more deeply why something as simple as this can feel like a lifeline. That's exactly where we're heading next. As powerful as walnuts can be, their importance only becomes clear when you understand what age quietly steals away. The decline doesn't announce itself with alarms or sudden collapse. It creeps in like a whisper so gradual that many men dismiss the signs as just part of getting older. Yet what I've seen again and again is that these whispers are warnings, signals from a body that is running low on the very nutrients that once kept it strong at night. By the time you notice them, the pattern has already taken hold. Think back to the last time you slept all the way through the night without stirring. For some men, they can't even remember. They lie in bed, staring at the ceiling, waking without reason at 2 or 3 in the morning, or tossing for hours, unable to sink into deep rest. That fractured sleep is one of the first signs that melatonin, the hormone of restoration, is fading. When you're young, it rises naturally as the sun goes down, guiding your body into a rhythm of repair. But past 60, the supply dwindles and the nights become broken, shallow, unsatisfying. You wake feeling more tired than when you closed your eyes. Then comes the change that many hesitate to talk about, the quiet decline of morning strength. I've had countless men admit in a low voice, almost ashamed, that their erections had grown weaker or less reliable. At first it seemed subtle, a slower response, a firmness that didn't last. Over time it became harder to ignore. This is the fingerprint of dwindling nitric oxide, the molecule that fuels healthy blood flow. Without it, circulation falters, and what was once automatic becomes a source of frustration or embarrassment. Some men withdraw from intimacy, not because they no longer want it, but because they fear disappointment. That distance can create silence between partners, a silence more painful than words. The fatigue of the day is another flag. You may technically log enough hours in bed, but instead of waking refreshed, you rise, groggy, heavy, reluctant to face the morning. Tasks you once breezed through now feel like burdens. Even small challenges leave you drained. It feels as if the tank you depend on is leaking energy by the hour, and no matter how much you rest, it never quite fills. Along with it comes irritability, impatience, and a quiet erosion of self-confidence. Where once you felt steady, now you feel shaky. Where once you were eager, now you hesitate. I remember one man who told me, "Doctor, I thought I was just stressed." I told myself it was normal for my age, but the truth is I was slipping and didn't even notice how far. That, to me, is the greatest tragedy, that too many men accept these warning signs as inevitable, when in reality they are cries for support. The body isn't giving up. It's asking, sometimes desperately, to be refueled with what it no longer produces in abundance. Ignoring the signals doesn't make them harmless. It accelerates the decline. And this is where the danger lies. Because once you start to believe that broken sleep, fading erections, constant fatigue, and restless moods are simply the way things are, you stop looking for answers. You shrink your world to fit your new limitations. Nights become something to endure instead of something to look forward to. The spark of vitality that made you feel alive turns into a memory you rarely let yourself revisit. Yet I promise you it does not have to be that way. What these symptoms reveal is not finality, but deficiency. They are markers of what's missing: melatonin to guide deep rest, nitric oxide to drive circulation, testosterone to fuel strength and confidence. And here's the encouraging truth. Deficiencies can be replenished. They can be addressed in ways that are natural, simple, and aligned with the rhythms your body still remembers. Walnuts matter because they deliver exactly the compounds these symptoms are pointing to. They restore not just sleep, but the depth of sleep, not just circulation, but the firmness and reliability. It supports not just energy, but the confidence that comes with it. So when you find yourself restless at midnight, when you avoid closeness out of fear, when you wake sluggish and unmotivated, don't tell yourself this is simply aging. Tell yourself it is your body sending signals, and those signals are pointing you toward solutions hiding in plain sight. Every ache, every restless hour, every hesitation is not the end of the story. It's the body reminding you that with the right support, renewal is still possible. The question then is, how do you give your body that support at exactly the right moment so it can use it to rebuild what's been slipping away? How do you take something as ordinary as a walnut and turn it into a ritual that fuels deeper sleep, stronger circulation, and brighter mornings? That is where timing becomes everything, and why understanding how to use this simple nut correctly may change the way your nights and your life feel from this moment forward. Once you realize what your body has been missing, the natural question becomes how to supply it in a way that truly makes a difference. Men often assume that if a little of something is good, then more must be better, and they pour bowls full of walnuts or snack on them at random hours, only to be disappointed when nothing changes. I've seen it too many times, good intentions undermined by poor timing and excess. The truth is, your body doesn't respond to brute force. It responds to rhythm. Just as a seed won't grow if you scatter it on frozen ground, the nutrients in walnuts won't reach their full potential unless you offer them at the right moment in the right way. That's why I tell every man who comes to me that it isn't about handfuls, it isn't about mindlessly munching, and it isn't about turning walnuts into just another snack in a cluttered diet. It's about creating a nightly ritual, a deliberate act that signals to your body that you are giving it exactly what it needs at the very hour it's prepared to use it. 4 to 6 halves, that's all. Just enough to fit in the palm of your hand. It might not look like much, but inside those few pieces lies a carefully measured dose of L-arginine to spark nitric oxide omega-3s, to soothe your vessels, and melatonin to invite you into deeper sleep. Think of it not as food, but as fuel, and timing is everything. Walnuts work best when eaten about an hour before bed. That window matters because your body is shifting gears in those moments. Cortisol is supposed to be falling, Melatonin is meant to rise. Blood vessels are preparing for the night's quiet repairs. Drop the walnuts into that precise window, and you're giving your system the tools right as the workshop opens. Eat them at lunch, and the effect is dulled, swallowed up by the busyness of daytime metabolism. Eat them as part of a heavy dinner, and the benefits drown in a sea of grease and sugar. But eat them alone, simply 1 hour before bed, and it's as though your body finally hears the signal it's been straining for rest, repair, restore. I remember a man in his 70s who told me he had been eating walnuts for years, yet he felt no different. He carried a little bag of candied walnuts with him, nibbling throughout the day. When I asked him what time he ate them most, he shrugged and said, "Usually lunch." I smiled and said, "Then you've never given them the chance to do their work?" He was skeptical, but agreed to try again, this time plain walnuts, nothing added, just a small handful, 1 hour before turning out the lights. A month later, he returned with a look of astonishment. "Doctor, I don't understand. I've eaten these nuts for years, but suddenly I'm sleeping through the night. And my mornings, well, let's just say my wife has noticed." It wasn't the nut itself that had changed. It was the timing, the respect for the body's natural rhythm. Consistency matters too. A single night won't undo years of depletion. But repeat the ritual each evening and the benefits begin to stack. The first week, many men notice sleep comes faster and they wake less often. By the second week, the mornings feel lighter, less like dragging a stone uphill. By the third or fourth week, circulation improves so noticeably that men tell me they rediscover morning firmness they thought was gone forever. Confidence rises quietly with it. Intimacy becomes less about worry and more about connection again. Each stage builds on the last until you feel not younger exactly, but more like yourself. But there are pitfalls, and I warn men about them because they are easy to fall into. Too much is the first mistake. Filling a bowl and calling it healthy can lead to stomach upset or unwanted weight. Walnuts are powerful because they are concentrated, not because they are abundant. Another mistake is eating them at the wrong time, treating them as a snack instead of a ritual. And perhaps the most disappointing is dressing them up in sugar salt or oil, which only clouds their gifts. Nature packaged them perfectly as they are. Tampering only robs them of their power. For men who want to amplify the effect even further, pairing walnuts with foods rich in zinc, vitamin B6, or magnesium can be transformative. A few oysters at dinner, a slice of salmon, a banana, a square of dark chocolate. These companions fortify what walnuts begin. Zinc strengthens testosterone production. B6 calms the brain's chemistry. Magnesium deepens relaxation. Together, they work like a chorus, each note enhancing the others. I've heard patients describe it as the first time they felt their bodies and their minds working in harmony again. The beauty of this ritual is not just in its simplicity, but in the symbolism it carries. Each night, as you take those few halves into your hand, you are choosing to invest in your strength, your sleep, your confidence. You are reminding yourself that decline is not destiny, that even at 60 or 70 or 80, the body responds when treated with respect. Over time, this act becomes more than nutrition, it becomes reassurance. And that reassurance can be the very thing that transforms dread of the night into quiet anticipation. So imagine yourself tonight, standing in your kitchen, palm open, with a few walnut halves resting in it. It may not feel like much, but you are giving your body exactly what it has been calling for. In that moment, you're not just eating, you're signaling to your future self that you are willing to fight for renewal. And as you chew, as you let the simple texture remind you of nature's design, you can almost feel the shift begin. Sleep will come easier. The morning will feel lighter. Your confidence will return step by step. And what once felt like a hopeless decline will instead feel like a journey back toward strength. But the story doesn't end there. Because once you know how to use this gift correctly, the question becomes, what changes should you expect, and how quickly will they arrive? That is the moment when hope turns into anticipation, when men begin to watch their nights, not with fear, but with curiosity. And that is exactly where we go next. And so the question becomes, what is all of this really for? It's not just about walnuts or nitric oxide or even melatonin. At its heart, this is about reclaiming something much deeper, the sense of dignity, confidence, and closeness that too many men believe they've lost forever. I've sat across from men who looked perfectly fine on the outside, but carried a heaviness inside that no scan or lab test could reveal. They told me about lying awake, not just restless, but burdened by the fear that their strongest days were behind them. They described the silence that crept into their marriages, not because the love was gone, but because the hesitation was too heavy. They admitted they avoided mirrors in the morning because they no longer recognized the man staring back. What struck me most wasn't just the physical decline, it was the emotional weight of believing the decline was permanent. But when the body begins to respond, when nights finally stretch into unbroken rest, when energy greets the morning instead of dread, something remarkable happens. A man doesn't just sleep better, he stands taller. He begins to look at his partner with less hesitation and more eagerness. He wakes up not only with strength, but with pride. That pride is contagious. It restores intimacy, it lifts moods, it brightens the atmosphere of an entire household. I've seen men in their late 60s rediscover the joy of small rituals, making coffee with a spring in their step, walking into a room with the kind of confidence they thought was reserved for younger men. Their wives notice, their children notice, even their friends notice. But most importantly, they notice themselves again. This is why I tell every man who listens to me that the real victory here isn't just stronger circulation or deeper sleep. The real victory is regaining the sense of control over your own life. Aging can shape us, yes, but it doesn't have to define us. To sit down at night with a few walnut halves in your palm isn't just about nutrients, it's about telling yourself, I am not done. It's a reminder that even in the face of time, choice still belongs to you. That small act can echo far beyond the kitchen counter. It can ripple into your relationships, your outlook, your sense of self. I'll never forget one patient who came back to see me after a month. He had followed the ritual almost skeptically at first, but steadily. His words were simple. "Doctor, I feel like myself again." He wasn't claiming to be 25 again, and he didn't need to. He was smiling, laughing, describing evenings with his wife that felt natural again, mornings that no longer felt heavy, and days that carried purpose. That's what mattered. That's the transformation Walnuts unlocked, not just chemical changes, but emotional renewal. And this is where I want to speak directly to you. If you followed me through this story, if you felt a sting of recognition in the signs I described, then you know this isn't just about health. It's about identity. It's about not letting age steal the spark that makes you feel alive. Imagine yourself a month from now, you go to bed without fear. You sleep without interruption. You wake without the fog, and you look in the mirror without disappointment. Imagine looking at your partner with warmth instead of hesitation, leaning into intimacy with curiosity instead of doubt. Imagine greeting the day with energy you thought had slipped away for good. This is not a fantasy. It is what happens when you give your body the support it has been quietly asking for. I want you to see walnuts not as a miracle cure, but as a nightly choice, a symbol of your refusal to surrender to decline. Each evening, when you take those few pieces into your hand, you are claiming back more than sleep. You are reclaiming your manhood, your relationships, your peace of mind. And the ripple effect is larger than you realize. Because when you feel strong again, when you feel rested and confident, the people around you feel it too. Your partner feels cherished, your family feels your presence, and you yourself feel grounded. So as we come to the close of this journey together, I want you to remember that the story of aging is not one of inevitable loss. It is a story of choice. You have the chance to step back into nights that restore you instead of drain you, mornings that energize you instead of weaken you, days that remind you of the man you still are. The walnut is small, but what it represents is not. It represents hope, renewal, and control. It represents the decision to fight for your vitality rather than accept its absence. And now it is your turn. If you have felt hope stirring as you've listened, if you've pictured yourself stronger, calmer, more connected, then I invite you to take action. Tonight, let this ritual begin. Don't just watch and nod, do it. And when you do, when you begin to feel the shift, I want to hear your story. Share it, because you never know whose life you might touch with your words. Together, we can build a community of men who refuse to let age define them. Men who choose strength, intimacy, and dignity, one simple act at a time. And I promise you, the first step is smaller than you think, but the transformation it leads to can be larger than you ever imagined. Thank you so much for staying with me all the way to the end of this video. Your time and attention mean the world to me, and I truly hope what I've shared brings you value and encouragement. If this message resonated with you, please give the video a like, share it with someone who might need it, and let me know your thoughts in the comments below. And don't forget to hit that subscribe button so you never miss the next story and tip we share together.